Hello, my name is Oscar. I study at the Pan American University of Puerto in the Faculty of Education and Humanities, School of Modern Languages. In today's video, I am going to talk about the sound systems of language, or in other words, phonology. Phonology, in this discussion, in this instance, is going to refer to precisely that, the sound systems that make up language. All right, but so we can understand what this means, we need to describe two concepts. The first one is phonemes, and the second one is the need of phonological rules. Okay, so again, phonology is the sound system of language, and we have two concepts to understand this. Let's start with phonemes. Okay, first let's try to understand how phonemes work before defining them conceptually. So every language has different sound categories that make up their specific sound system or phonology. All right, so sound categories. Now, phonemes are the way our brain stores each different sound category in our mind to allow the advanced decryption of sounds that characterizes our complex and advanced languages. So, phonemes exist to facilitate that decryption process. All right, and also to organize and facilitate the emission of the sounds that make up a language sound system. Okay, so, but understanding now how they work, which is, in few words, categorization of sounds, either to understand, decrypt incoming speech, incoming sounds, or to facilitate the emission of sounds, to create speech and advance speech, such as the languages that we use today. But what are phonemes exactly? So they are units of sounds that are meaningfully contrasted in a language. So if we're speaking about the English language, for example, the letter T has a way that is used to communicate what sound does that letter in a language make, which is t. That is a phoneme, t. Okay, so the letter T is associated to the phoneme t. But there are different ways to pronounce the letter T in English. Okay? And that is where the first definition, the first explanation that we discussed earlier comes into practice. When we speak of sound categories, that is exactly what we mean. Meaning, the different sounds that a particular phoneme can uses to express said phoneme. Let's look at an example so we can better understand it. And this will tie into the phonological rules. So again, taking the letter T, in the word utter, the T's are pronounced not with a T sound, but instead with a R sound. Utter. It is a T. It is a T sound, but it's not T. So, R and t are both units of sound are stored in our brain in the same category. So we know that we have different possible ways to pronounce the T when we need to. So I hope that makes it clearer. And that brings us right to phonological rules, which, in other words, are pronunciation rules. And what does this mean? That phonological rules are instructions that help us decide which sound to use from a phoneme, again, a sound category, as we just explained in the example, in every instance of speech. So, when I look at the word utter, my brain, let's say I have a choice. I see that T in the word utter, and I have options. I have t sound, and I have sound. But the phonological rules of the English language guide me into using the correct phoneme, the correct unit of sound in that specific instance. Okay, so in the word otter, again, O-T-T-E-R, there are two T's placed together, and I know that when that happens, the sound I have to use is otter, instead of otter, which is incorrect in the English language. Now, in the word train, then the t sound is very clear. And the phonological rules, again, guide me to choose the right pronunciation of the T. Okay, so I hope that makes it clear that, again, the two concepts, phonemes and phonological rules, and how both of these, the units of sounds, the sound categories, how they work, and how we need the phonological rules to help us decide which sound we must use from the options that we have. But another interesting question is, why does this exist? Why are there different ways to pronounce the T, for example? And the explanation is that language requires a acknowledgement of the way that different sounds interact with one another. Again, in the word otter, there is a T, and we are looking at the T's that are there, but there is also an E, an R, and a O. So all of these sounds are interacting together, right? And to facilitate the fluid emission of sounds that make up the words, the pronunciation rules or the phonological rules are ensued. It is to benefit the emission of language, of speech, all right? And also the understanding of language on the receiving side of the communication. So I hope this makes it all clear. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye for now.